Hello, and welcome to my channel. Just pause for a moment and listen. What you're hearing is the sound of time passing. Here, at the end of June 2025, that sound carries a special weight. Because a doomsday prophecy that has circulated for over 30 years, captivating and terrifying millions, is about to face its final judgment in less than 7 days. This prophecy comes from a legendary Japanese manga artist, Tatsuki, and her mysterious work, The Future I See. It points to an exact moment, July 5, 2025, and a great calamity that could change the world. But what we're going to explore in this video is a twist more dramatic than the prophecy itself. It seems that the author of the prophecy, Tatsuki herself, has, at the last minute, personally dismantled the very legend she created. So, what is this? A warning that has spanned decades, or a carefully orchestrated deception? Have we been warned, or have we been misled? Make sure you watch until the end, because the complexity of the truth, and the contradictions of human nature, are far beyond anything you can imagine. Part 1, The Birth of a Legend, the shockingly accurate prophecy. To understand all of this, we have to go back to the beginning. Tatsuki was no ordinary manga artist. She claimed to have the ability to see the future in her dreams, recording these prophetic dreams in a diary, which were eventually compiled into her 1999 manga, The Future I See. At the heart of this book is the ultimate prophecy that brings us all here today. On July 5, 2025, at 4:18 a.m., in the Pacific Ocean between Japan and the Philippines, the seabed will violently erupt, forcing new landmass to rise. This will trigger a super tsunami, 3 times more powerful than the Great East Japan earthquake, with waves that will simultaneously strike Japan, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and the Philippines. The location, the time, the event, the aftermath. Every single element was so specific, it was chilling. Part 2, The Believer's Cornerstone, the revered 15-year rule. Why wasn't such an astounding prophecy simply dismissed as a crazy fairy tale? The answer lies in Tatsuki's incredible track record of hits, and a mysterious pattern hidden within them, a principle that fans and researchers have dubbed the 15-year rule. People discovered that for many of Tatsuki's prophecies, there was often a cyclical connection between the date of the dream and the date of the event, typically in intervals of 5 years, and especially 10 and 15 years. It sounds bizarre, but the evidence is compelling. She precisely predicted the 1995 Great Hanshin earthquake, Kobe earthquake. In her dream diary, she wrote in 15 days or 15 years. As it turned out, the earthquake happened 15 days later. She dreamed of the death of Freddie Mercury, the lead singer of Queen. The time gap between the dream and the event was exactly 15 years, no more, no less. The most stunning example was the Great East Japan earthquake, 3/11. In her dream diary entry from March 11, 1996, she recorded seeing a calendar marking a disaster 15 years in the future. And exactly 15 years to the day, on March 11, 2011, the great earthquake and tsunami struck. Even the 2020 COVID pandemic that we all lived through, she mentioned it in her manga back in 1995, 25 years in advance, stating that an unknown virus will appear around 2020. These cases collectively built the credibility of Tatsuki's prophecies. The 15-year rule acted like a key that could unlock her dreams, making her system of prophecy look less like mere coincidence and more like a traceable, supernatural ability. And it's precisely because of this track record that people have treated her ultimate prophecy about 2025 with such seriousness and alarm. At this point, have you also been blown away by this 15-year rule? If you think these past coincidences are genuinely incredible, go ahead and type incredible in the comments below, or give this video a like, and let's dig even deeper. Part 3. The Crack in Credibility, the Public Failure of 1992. However, just as Ryo Tatsuki's legend was growing more and more divine, a huge, unavoidable stain has always existed in her work. This was her earliest, boldest, and most definitive public failure. Let's turn our attention to the cover of the original manga published in 1999. The cover illustration shows a girl with a sad expression, pointing to a calendar. Next to her, a line of Japanese is clearly written, 19922820, which translates to, "The Great Catastrophe is on August 20, 1992. This wasn't a question or a hint. It was a firm, definitive. And what happened? As we all know, on August 20, 1992, the world was perfectly fine. This was a prophecy that had already been proven wrong by the time it was published. So, how did Ryo Tatsuki herself explain this major blunder? It wasn't until 2021, in the re-released, complete edition, that she offered an extremely convoluted explanation. She said the date wasn't a prophecy but a code, a prompt for her to pay attention to a TV program on that day. She claimed she saw a news story about a tragic family murder-suicide and believed that the negative energy of that program was a symbolic warning for the real, future catastrophe. How does that sound to you? An incredibly clear, declarative sentence was reinterpreted after the fact as a symbolic code that required grasping at straws, making associations, and decoding. This kind of after-the-fact rationalization, designed to make something wrong seem right, simply doesn't hold up logically. This wasn't just a failed prophecy, it was a failed interpretation. For the first time, it exposed to us that Ryo Tatsuki's ability as an interpreter of prophecies is extremely unstable. And this instability leads us to the single most crucial concept for understanding this entire affair. Part 4. The Core Paradox, the Recorder versus the Interpreter. Please remember this crucial distinction. Ryo Tatsuki may embody two different identities at the same time. The first identity is the recorder. She is like a video camera, faithfully recording the raw images from her dreams without interference. The power of her successful prophecies comes from the purity of this record. What we believe in is this unprocessed raw data. The second identity is the interpreter. She tries to understand, analyze, and decipher the meaning of her own dreams. And the failed case of 1992 proves exactly this. She might be an excellent recorder, but she is definitely an unreliable interpreter. We have reason to believe she saw those incredible images, but we have no reason to believe her interpretation of those images is correct. Once you understand this, you'll see how what happens next is both perfectly logical and absolutely shocking. Part 5. The Ultimate Reversal. The author's betrayal in June 2025. Okay everyone, focus up. Because the most dramatic climax of this story is happening right now, as we speak, in June of 2025. Just this month, on the eve of the prophecy's due date, perhaps pressured by the escalating panic and discussion worldwide, Ryo Tatsuki published a new book titled Words from an Angel and gave a media interview. In them, she offered 3 subversive clarifications, or, you could call them, corrections, to the prophecy from the 2021 complete edition that had the entire world on edge. First, regarding 4:18 a.m. This time, believed to be the precise moment of the disaster, Ryo Tatsuki clarified, this wasn't the time of the catastrophe at all. It was the time she woke up from the dream. Second, regarding July 5th. For this date, considered to be Judgment Day, she changed her story, stating that the date of the dream doesn't equal the date of the event, and that nothing major will necessarily happen, it might just be a date worthy of attention. Third, and this is the fatal blow, regarding the slogan. She admitted that the sensational phrase on the 2021 manga's book ban that read, "The real great catastrophe is in July 2025, was added by the publisher's editor for marketing purposes and was not her original intention. So, after hearing all that, what are we supposed to think? A doomsday alarm with a specific date and time, one that has been analyzed, interpreted, and feared by countless believers for decades, is now, at the last minute, being disavowed by the very person who rang it. Sorry, the time might be wrong, the date might not be right, and even the slogan was just commercial hype. This is no longer a simple correction. This is practically a self-disavowal of the prophecy's entire core message. The prophecy about July 5, 2025, the one we've been chasing this whole time, seems to have vanished into thin air, right before it even reached the finish line. Part 6, A Wild Theory on the Ruins. What if the vision is real? So, is the story really over? Was it all just a big misunderstanding? Perhaps, we can be a little bolder. Let's run a final thought experiment. Assume that all of Ryo Tatsuki's interpretations, including her own, are wrong. But, the raw, untamed vision she first saw back in 1981, the boom sound, the seabed rising, two dragons, a great tsunami, is itself real. If it doesn't point to a volcanic eruption, then what could it be pointing to? Possibility 1, a geopolitical explosion, war. This is perhaps the most chilling, and also the most fitting, interpretation. The location of the prophecy, between Japan and the Philippines, is a global geopolitical powder keg. That boom sound could be the first shot of a war. The land splitting open could be the complete shattering of the peaceful world order. And the two dragons, especially within a Chinese cultural context, is an image that seems tailor-made for a U.S. China confrontation. The final great tsunami would then be the consequence of that war, a global economic collapse, supply chain disruptions, and a humanitarian crisis. The destructive power of this unnatural tsunami would far exceed any geological disaster. Possibility 2, a non-volcanic natural disaster. For example, a megaquake in the region, far beyond imagination, could trigger a massive underwater landslide. Wouldn't the churning sediment look just like two mud dragons in the water? Or, what if massive undersea reserves of combustible ice were to cause a chain reaction of explosions due to geological shifts? That would also perfectly explain the boom and the rising seabed. Possibility 3, a purely symbolic catastrophe. It could be a massive financial crash originating in Asia that devastates the global economy. Or it could be the exposure of a truth so profound that it upends human civilization and completely shakes our current worldview. This original dream is like a Rorschach test. What you see in it is determined by your own fears and your perception of the world. It's a vessel of possibility, one that can hold any great catastrophe you can imagine. Part 7, Final Thoughts. Alright, my friends. Our journey of decryption is coming to an end. From a precise prophecy revered as a divine oracle, to a vague warning full of contradictions and holes, ultimately downgraded by the author herself, and finally, to our own multidimensional speculations about the future. Ryo Tatsuki and her prophecy are like a mirror, reflecting our fear in the face of the unknown, our craving for patterns and order, and our instinct to find meaning in a chaotic world. Perhaps the ultimate lesson of this story is this: we can maintain a sense of awe for those spiritually attuned recorders, but we must always maintain a clear-headed skepticism towards any interpreters who claim to have all the answers, even if that interpreter is the prophet herself. The clock is still ticking. There are only a few days left until July 5, 2025. What do you think will actually happen on that day? Will it be just another ordinary Saturday, or will the prophecy be quietly fulfilled in a way none of us expect, perhaps symbolically? Please, Leave your most honest thoughts right now in the comments below. If you liked this video, and if you found our discussion valuable, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and share it with your friends who are just as curious about the world as you are. Thanks for watching. I'm Robert, and I'll see you in the next one.